What's up? Welcome to my channel. I am Vampy Dizzy, or you can just call me Dizzy or Vampy for short. So in my Yakuza 6 video, I said I would either review Saints Row 3 Remastered or Persona 5 Royale. I decided to choose Saints Row 3 Remastered because it was much shorter and a bit easier to get into. Maybe sometime in the future I will review Persona 5 Royale, so I hope you look forward to it. Anyway, before I start the review, I want you to know that this is my opinion of the game. So if I said something you don't agree with, or something you thought didn't make sense, tell me in the comment section. And one last thing. Please note that I'm new to these videos, so please don't be too harsh with me. But without all that stuff gone, let's start the review. Bam. To me, the gameplay in Saints Row 3 Remastered is still fun and chaotic as it was all those years ago, when it's getting into fights with cops or rival gangs, or customizing your car, or customizing your character. Speaking of which, the controls in this game aren't the best, especially with the cars. The cars feel like they're on ice or water. They feel all slippery and stuff. They just don't control that well. You can customize them to make them control a little better, but still, I'd much rather them be good from the start. But on the other hand, you can customize your character to make them look goofy, or crazy, or cute, if you're into that type of stuff. You can also upgrade your characters and give them abilities to make them stronger, faster, be able to hold more guns, be resistant to fire, jeez. You can also upgrade your AI partner to make them more useful in combat. But you need money for these upgrades, unfortunately. And making this money in this game requires you to do either story missions or side activities or buying property. The game is simple, but it's still a fun time. As some of you already know, most of the cast from Saints Row 2 are back in this one. There are also some new characters, but first let's talk about the old ones. I think the old cast feels very, very different from the past game. I'm guessing this is this game's way of saying they mature and are more professional. But they aren't too stoic. They still have their weird charm about them, and they are kind of funny. But just note that they're a bit more professional in this game and not as, I guess, weird as in the other game. The new characters in this game are decent, but in my opinion, they don't really get enough screen time to shine. Or to, feel attached to them. I just feel like if they were more involved in this game, they would be a lot better. I like them, I just wish there was a bit more. And to me, that's more on the campaign's fault, which I'll get to later. I'm going to split this into two different sections. I'm going to talk about the radio stations, and then I'm going to talk about the actual in-game soundtrack. I think the radio stations in this game are very varied. And they each have a song that I like in each station. Like, No One Man Has All This Power, or Rhythm, or however that song goes. I also like the fact that you can make a mixtape, which means that you can pick all your favorite songs from each radio station and put them on your mixtape and listen to while you're driving the car. I feel like a lot more games should have this feature. It's one of the best features in this game, in my opinion. And I think a lot more games would benefit from this feature. And that's enough on the radio stations. Now how about the actual in-game soundtrack? I think it's kind of forgettable at best. There isn't really a song that I remember. Maybe except for the Decker stuff. But even then, I was never moved by any of the soundtracks, which I guess I shouldn't be, because it isn't that type of game. But nothing really stuck to me in the in-game soundtrack. There wasn't a song that I would listen to over and over in the in-game soundtrack. The radio station is fine, but The actual soundtrack's kind of meh. The visuals in this game, I think they look pretty well. Well, mostly on the NPCs and cars. What I mean by NPCs, I mean the AI characters, or the important characters like Shandi and Pierce. There hasn't been much changes on the main character, in my opinion. They just look a little more realistic, but they still look the same from the original. I do like the designs on the cars, though. These cars look great, in my opinion. These cars look like they have actual effort put into them and not like weird plastic dolls like they were in the last ones. They also put efforts on the guns, which, in my opinion, they are a big improvement in this game than in the last one, or in the original. Because in the original, they look like cheap plastic toys that you can buy at a flea market. But in this one, they look great. They look like actual guns. Sad to say though, Steelport kind of still looks the same. It doesn't look like they put that much effort into Steelport. I was kind of hoping they would pretty up the city a bit, but unfortunately they did. Which I guess I understand because it probably would take a long time to do, but it's still a little disappointing. Campaign is the most difficult thing to talk about because while I do think there are very good and very memorable missions, I also think that this game is very tedious with its missions. And what I mean by that is half of the missions are well structured and well built, and another half are just side activities that you do all over. And to me, that's the big issue. And I wouldn't have an issue with it if the side activities were fun, but they are fun, but they get tedious. They get really boring really fast. Because all you're really doing, and most of them are either driving somewhere or just blowing stuff up. I mean, there is one where you ragdoll into traffic, but you can only get so much of that to the point where it's just like it gets boring. I think this game does suffer from age a bit when it comes to this. I think this is where that 9 years ago stuff just shows. Because there isn't a single side activity that I say that's my favorite thing, and I would love to do that over and over again. They all just get kind of old after the first time. As I said before, there are some good missions, but those missions are so varied and so rare to find. To me, that's my biggest issue is that this game doesn't have enough missions that are very memorable. It does have some, just not a lot. So this is gonna be the final verdict, or as I like to call it, in a nutshell. Yes, this game is fun, but it is very aged. Like it is aged badly. Well, no, I won't say badly. I think that's a bit harsh. It's just aged. As I said before, there are some good soundtracks with the radio stations, but there aren't any in the main game. The old characters are good. The new characters are just decent at best. The weapon design is good, and the character design is good, but the actual world itself is still the same. It still looks kind of ugly. Not ugly, but not as good as I hoped. So to wrap this all out, I probably would recommend you get this game. It's a fun game, and there are some good missions, but there's it just feels too much like a side quest game, like a filler game. It doesn't feel like an actual main game, and that's my big problem with it because the side activities are not fun. I'm gonna just put it right here. Not fun, but they're not long lasting. They get very tedious very fast. I just wish this game was better. And I guess maybe now since I'm older, I expect different things from the different games. And maybe back then this game was probably a 10. But now it's kind of like a 7 or 8. Maybe a 7. As I said, it's a fun game. It's still a fun game. And I kind of would recommend you play it, especially with the I'll see you next time when I decide on a different game to review. Bye.
Où ai-je la tête aujourd'hui? Je ne sais plus du tout où j'en suis. C'est toujours pareil avec moi, je sais. On me le dit de pas.